Welcome to AI Snacks with Romy and Robbie, an AI literacy podcast translating AI and robotic technologies from difficult to easy to understand. I'm your host Anastassia, CEO and founder of AI Edutainment, a limited company in Switzerland dedicated to AI literacy. In this AI Snacks episode, we are stepping right into the uncanny valley between who we are and who we might become online, for example, in the hands of cybercriminals or sexual predators. And then we discuss what might happen with sophisticated and highly advanced general AIs once they are implemented. As a guest, I'm bringing back Gabriela Bar, a lawyer and an AI ethicist who has spent more than 2 decades working at the intersection of new technology, human rights, and European regulation. She helps research teams and tech companies navigate the European AI Act, GDPR, and trustworthy AI guidelines, and she tries not to kill innovation. She tries to turn abstract principles into concrete, workable rules for real products and applications. And so we explore digital personas in 2 time frames. Today, where very real people, including children, have their faces, voices, and life stories scrapped, cloned, and remixed into synthetic identities, and quite often without consent. And then we are looking into tomorrow, in a world where some AI systems may start to look and feel so agentic that philosophers and lawyers seriously ask, if an AI ever became conscious, would it deserve some form of protection of digital personhood? I really wonder what self even means when your likeness and behavior can be modeled at scale. How much protection current law really offers to our online identities, and how we might design future-proof frameworks that protect both humans and one day potentially sentient machines. At the end of the conversation, we will discuss the Cheshire Cat principle of digital creations, which might be legal personas like companies or digitized individuals like you and I. And now let me open the studio for Gabriela. Gabriela, welcome back to my podcast. It's really nice to see you again.
Welcome. It's great to be here. Thank you very much for having me again.
And you work at the intersection of AI, law, data protection, and AI ethics. You advise European Commission, you advise governments. You're very active as a legal professional. How do you define this digital persona, and how did you first become interested in the idea of a digital persona? Maybe there's some story connected to that. Maybe it's just because of your legal work. Please tell us.
Thank you for this question. I think there are quite a few reasons why I started to think about it as a lawyer, and I started to think about it in the context of AI ethics also. So the first thing is probably Max Tegmark's book, Life 3.0, and it somehow inspired me to think about AI much wider than we usually do, especially we lawyers, because there is a tendency in a legal job that we think about present time and only the present regulation, the present situation. And for me, it's not enough. I think if there is this technology which has such a big impact on our life, on societies, on everything really, like artificial intelligence, I thought about what will be in the future. The second is, of course, maybe not, it's not, of course, for everyone, but these people who know me a little bit or maybe have listened to our previous podcast, they would know now that I am a big fan of science fiction books and films. So Blade Runner, it was a film that inspired me also to think about this digital persona or legal personhood for AI or androids or this artificial person, saying it much wider. I think we live in the time when this dual division between humans and non-humans, it's not really good anymore. Well enough how animals feel and that they can think, that they can even have this feeling of self in some cases. So we can't treat them as an object anymore. And of course, uh, I'm not saying that AI will be like humans or like animals. Maybe it will be completely different persona with completely different state of mind, but maybe there are some reasons to think, even not to decide now, but to think, to discuss how it will be if this AI or artificial general intelligence, as we call this very advanced artificial intelligence, will be more and more involved in our social life as an autonomous being. So probably it's very difficult to create a definition already for digital persona. But I think that it's important to think that creatures, uh, you can like humans or non-humans, but similar to humans in some cases, they may have very advanced mental states. And if they have this very advanced mental state, if they can think, if they can feel that they exist, so this is what we call consciousness, but of course there's no definition of consciousness. So it's hard to say, but this feeling of self. And if they can suffer, for example, they can experience all other so-called qualia from Latin. I think it's worth to discuss about future protection for that kind of creatures.
Must admit, I absolutely applaud your vision because it's quite rare that something like this is coming from a lawyer. And obviously, law is quite usually just kind of, progressing after something happened. A system evolved. We introduced new systems to help us to produce something or to deal with each other across the borders. And then the law kind of, catches up. But in your case, and I think this is tremendously important to think in advance what might happen. And this is actually, I think it's a huge advantage of people that we have art and we have literature and we have movies. So we have science fiction. There are tons of examples of AIs being mistreated. One of the best is Westworld. So this Dolores who is raped constantly, and no, it's a difference whether you are, I'm sorry, raping a toaster or whether you are dealing with someone who looks exactly like us and shows all the signs of pain, distress, and suffering.
Exactly.
And I sometimes think whether the rights of AIs, once, let's say, they move around similarly to something which can recognize as conscious beings, whether the rights and the protection of their rights will follow the same suit as the protection of animal rights. And I'm always thinking Peter Singer, his work on animal ethics, differences between legal systems in the UK versus the United States or even Germany. I do not know. I don't have a crystal ball. So how do you believe this whole sphere will evolve in legal science and in law?
Definitely a big supporter of animal rights. And I think that animals should have more rights than they have now, much sooner than any artificial intelligence. It's out of the discussion, I think, because we know enough about them and we live with them, and this is the part of our everyday experience. So for me, it's obvious that they, for now at least, much more important than any AI. But I don't think that we can have this very easy approach that, okay, laws and rights for humans and laws or rights for the rest of sentient beings, let's say, because, well, animals have bodies and they suffer very similarly to people, to humans. And we have to have in mind that artificial intelligence could have completely different body. I'm saying that it doesn't have to be body at all. The body can be mechanical, of course, like in case of robots or androids, but it can be also just computer server. So, it could be just very sophisticated software. So in that case, even if that kind of AI has any mental states, which is possible, of course, because all mental states become from our brains. So it could be a little bit the same with advanced artificial intelligence, that it has some mental states that comes from its brain, kind of construction similar to our brain. Yes, so we have to divide, I think, these two group of rights. I think that for artificial intelligence, it's more like, for example, right to not be switched off, or the right not to be cancelled or deleted. Yeah, so of course there could be some more rights also similar to the right to some kind of dignity, but in case of AI, it may be much less important than in case of humans or animals. So I'm not thinking about legal personality for animals or AI in the same shape. I think each group of these creatures, of these beings, would have different moral status and different rights connected with that. But what I am against, it's thinking about humans, that we are so exceptional and that our moral status as a creature that has a soul is justification for everything we do, because we have many examples that we people, we were behaving towards other living creatures, towards other people, in a way which is completely unacceptable. So saying that we have this legal personality because we are exceptional and we come from God, it's for me ridiculous.
I totally agree. And this is the beauty of artifacts, movies, books, that it's not really about something else. It's all about us. It's mirroring what we are. And I love, of course, when there are talks about human AI alignment, because it has tremendous implication for transparency and safety and whatsoever. It might have one day implications for protecting those creatures, if this word is correct. But ultimately, it's about us as well.
Exactly.
And why should we cause something which we would not wish for ourselves? So this is a huge question. Just awareness about what do we wish and what are the consequences of what we do. This is already a very big question, which should be in every educational system and in all our actions independently from the domain. So thank you really for thinking about it and applying this wish to your legal work, because we do not know when we will encounter the first truly general AI. So I don't believe it will be very, very soon for a bunch of reasons. There are people who would tremendously disagree and say in a couple of years, like 4 to 5 years, we will already have such AIs walking among us or being on our devices. Who knows? But being prepared never hurts. But I would love to kind of, to come to the digital echo and mirror of us, because even humans in today's world have problems with the reflections in computer systems. And what exactly counts as part of our digital persona today? So are we just talking about something as evolved as avatars, fakes, digital twins, AI-generated versions of us, or is it something else? And I'm asking, I had a very difficult period in my life when I was put into all the projectors of media, etc., for something which I could not prevent. And instead of defending me, there were assumptions that I was actually guilty of some misconduct. And people were producing digital avatars of me and putting handcuffs on me, distributing drugs, stories, fabricating stories, etc., etc. My persona became an avatar. And I would say I'm resilient. I can deal with that, but not everyone is resilient. I know about similar stories when people committed suicide.
Exactly.
So do we have quite an elaborated legal system, and probably different countries address it differently, to cope with such situations, to address such situations? And how does AI and generative AI change the landscape of what constitutes a digital persona? And I'm not touching now famous people,
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson and her voice and OpenAI story, but just let's say random people like
Yeah, it's very good point, because this is the problem which is much closer to us than legal personhood for AI, of course. And yes, we should deal with our own problems first, which are uh, which can touch everybody, because as you said, it's not about famous people, it's not about stars, it's also about you and me.
exactly.
So this is scary, I have to say. And the problem is that, of course, in the past we also had some kind of media, and these media could create a kind of persona, fake persona of anybody, really. But the scale and the technical possibilities of doing that were very, very narrow. And
Yes.
the scale was very small, and these possibilities was very narrow. So it wasn't such a problem. But now everybody can use generative AI and produce some deep fakes of different kind. So visual, audio, and others. And there is, surprisingly, there is no sufficient regulation on that. Recently, I was thinking about it, and I was even posting something on LinkedIn about the deep nude. And so it's a big problem also among children. Like,
Absolutely. The
well,
Grok example.
oh,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, of course, this is the Grok example mainly. Yeah, but it's not only the Grok. So really what we can do now in general, maybe there are some specific local regulations that are a little bit different, but I'm talking in general about European Union, what we can do within laws of EU. Not much. We can just sue this person in civil proceedings because, let's say, how I look, my persona, my public a picture, let's say, it's something that I can protect, but only under civil law. So I can claim that somebody infringed my rights my right to privacy, to my right to dignity, and other rights like this, my personal rights or human rights. But this is very long and very inefficient way to claim that somebody hurt me so hardly sometimes.
Yeah.
As you said, for you and for me probably too. However, I didn't experience any of such situation happily. I will survive. I'm ready, let's say, that it can happen, but not for everyone. Not like for children, for young people, for people with, for very sensitive people. So what they can do? Really nothing. They can go
Yeah.
also to they can go to the police. Also, they can start some other legal proceedings like criminal proceedings. But really, from my experience, it looks very often like, okay, if nothing really happened, I mean, nothing like physical harm or rape, police very often do nothing because it's normal. Everybody experience that. Everybody experience some kind of stalking in the internet of some kind of unpleasant situation. But no, it's not normal, and it's growing and growing. My conclusion during when I was writing this post and during my thinking about it was that it should be prohibited in general. We were discussing last time about AI Act a little bit, and there are some prohibitions of practices with AI that should be banned. And there are many different practices that are banned already in AI Act, but I wonder why this kind of activities which really impact on humans' dignity are not banned. It should be banned. Deep nude, deep fakes concerning specific person should be just banned. We have a lot of different possibilities to have public discussion about, let's say, politicians, people who are famous, other people, if they did something wrong. And then we can discuss about the situation. We shouldn't be allowed to produce deep fakes just like this. And not be held responsible in any way for that. And these victims, as you said, they very often commit suicides.
No, you are so right. And I would love to understand from the legal point of view, because you mentioned something very important, inefficiencies. Yes,
Yeah.
there are always some kind of laws, right? But, and I'm not a lawyer, please correct me if I misinterpret it, because it's important. So in terms of general liability, so you must prove the damage. And then, of course, the borderline, how do you prove the damage? and I don't want to touch the fees just to grow through the hurdle, because it's tremendously expensive to take someone to court. So to prove that there is a damage, this is a huge Mount Everest for a random person. Please explain. For example, in Scandinavia, to my knowledge, they are now dedicated laws. Someone must not use a voice of a person or not use the appearance of a person. So they're dedicated laws. So this is a more efficient way, if you have something like this, to take someone to court. Or am I mixing things up here? Just please explain to someone who is not a lawyer.
Thank you for this question. Well, in Poland, we also have laws that say that you can't use anybody's picture or voice or any other personal feature without the permission of this person. But if it happened, then what? You still have to go to the court. You still have to start some legal proceedings. And it's again about efficiency. I don't know, maybe courts in Sweden work better than in Poland, but in Poland it's quite long procedure. It's not very expensive though in Poland comparing to other countries, but it's not even about cost. It's probably it is sometimes, but it's mainly about the time, about the quick reaction. There is one more possibilities, just to go to file a complaint to the authorities that are supervision authorities on the market, like data protection supervision authority, like consumer authorities, consumer protection authorities, or maybe we have also some authorities that that supervise electronic market, e-commerce market. So it may be much quicker, but it doesn't, this kind of way, this kind of proceedings, it does not give any compensation to the victim, but it can stop the person who infringed somebody's right from doing it. And this may be quicker way, but no damages for the injured or harmed person in this proceeding.
And this is really surprising, because I think a European AI Act sometimes is, let's say, too vast to address things. And this is what I'm criticizing, because in my eyes, you must solve a problem instead of, let's say, creating a new one, like an economic burden on companies developing and deploying AI. But something as simple as violating the dignity, probably there are some legal definitions of what it might constitute, right?
Yes.
And we are sensible about so many things, but somehow we forget the digital space. I would like to ask you one question. My daughter is 16, and I'm looking at her and her friends. They are on social, but only in private mode, zero sharing on whatsoever. And I was not educating her about how to use social media. So this is something deeply engraved in her and her group of friends. And asked her once, and she said, look, I don't want to be discovered. Just, I want to have control over digital me. And if I play a concert, so sometimes she must post because it's compulsory for the competitions. This is one situation. But rather than that, I take everything out. I don't want cute baby pictures or current pictures or celebration pictures. I don't want any of that online. I respect it. How would you explain to a teenager how to protect their digital personas and their personas without digital?
It's quite rare, I have to say. Congrats to that you have such a conscious daughter. It's amazing and it's very responsible. And this is what I think exactly about being in social media. So I limit my existence in social media to LinkedIn and to my professional activity, because I don't feel that need to share with everything with other people. But it's very, as I said, it's very rare nowadays, because what I observe, young people, they don't care. I mean, they just want to be online all the time. They just want to share everything with other people. And they don't understand what's the problem that we share our data with Meta or Google or with other
TikTok.
TikTok is an worse example. Yeah, with big companies, we still want to use these services, and there is not a problem for us. So I think that for them, privacy protection is not so important. So what I would tell young people, it's more about cybersecurity and about being careful with other people in their network, in the internet in general, that may have bad intentions. Because I participated in a conference recently in Poland, and one of the governmental organizations that is responsible for safety, security, and cybersecurity presented some results of research how often young people have contact with kind of
Predator.
predator. Yeah, because it's about some sexual interactions. It's about send me your picture, of course, first normal picture and then less and less normal, I mean more and more naked, let's say. I was surprised, really surprised, that more than 50% of children between I can't remember now, but it was more like between 9 and 16, something like
Wow.
this, had any kind of such contact. It couldn't be necessarily very direct sexual context, but very often it was. And it wasn't only, which is also very important, it wasn't only about contact with people they don't know. It was also it's also a problem that these children had this kind of sexual contacts through internet with people they know, adult people they know, and some colleagues and friends.
Wow.
Between colleagues and friends, at the beginning you may think, okay, yeah, no, we're all young, we didn't have such media to exchange our photos in the past, but okay, maybe it's not such a problem. But it becomes a problem very soon, because children in the age of, I don't know, 14 meet, they date, but after 2 months, maybe they will not dating anymore. So they publish these half naked pictures in social media. The person who is on this picture, the child which is on this picture, suffers a lot,
Yeah.
not only because of shame that between her or his friends, but it could be also the situation when this person is a aim of attack of real predators, if these pictures are publicly available. So it has a lot of consequences, even consequences in the future. For me, it was incredible how much of this kind of contacts with this sexual background happens in the internet. For many of these children, it's normal, because it was 26% or something like this said it's normal, it happens. So they don't even understand now that no, it's not normal and it shouldn't happen.
This is unbelievable. And the statistics is really heartbreaking. And I think we have to do a better job as parents and educators to simply raise awareness, because something which is fine for one person might be devastating for another, depending on the personal resilience and personal circumstances. Social net, how engaged you are socially with real people, not just with screens. Absolutely heartbreaking. And I think it's very difficult today to educate even the police, because they're overwhelmed. And I wish sometimes there were registers of emails of perpetrators. So I'm constantly receiving emails from predators like, we have all your data and we will publish them. We've got access to all your devices. Please, wire this and this amount of Bitcoins to this and this wallet. I would love to have clarity on those are the registers, like libraries. Just copy paste the email and it goes somewhere, and then people with more expertise than I have will deal with that. And there is nothing.
Yeah.
And there is no communication on what to do. Just give us a simple process, step 1, step 2, step 3, and teach this process in schools, even at a workplace, so that we are prepared. And this is for me where kind of, the law enforcement, the legal system, legal education around anything digital have a huge holes to be filled, not with nonsense, but with actually something which is sensible and which have sense.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I fully agree with you. And they had the same experience, of course, with these emails that, oh, we have your naked pictures or videos and we'll publish it if you won't pay us. Once I sent that kind of email to special police department in Poland that they are supposed to deal with that kind of criminals, but they didn't
Nothing.
even didn't even send me a message. Okay, we received your email and we'll inform you if something happens about it. But no, nothing. It's like black hole.
That's unbelievable. But Gabriela, I would like now to come to your paper about the Cheshire Cat, and I absolutely loved it. So you sometimes refer to the Cheshire Cat principle in the context of digital identity. And what does this metaphor mean to you? And how can the Cheshire Cat principle help organizations and maybe even individuals design safer digital personas?
Thank you for this question. Before our meeting, I was reading this paper one more time, and I thought it's quite good, actually.
Yes, I loved it.
It's nice. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, it's not the name of this concept. It's not really my concept. Is a concept of Professor Nafin, Cheshire Cat concept. According to this theory, it's a theory of law. Legal personhood, it's only formal capacity of using law in the meaning of taking part in legal relationships. But really, what are legal relationships? They are social relationships that are regulated by law. So what I like in this concept is that it's separated from any religious, any moral justifications, because maybe it's a little bit controversial, but I don't believe that there is anything like natural law, like law that comes from God. I think that we people, we humans, we are creators of laws, and all laws or regulations, there are legal fictions like money. It's social agreement that piece of paper is worth something.
It's Yuval Harari is talking constantly about storytelling of humans. I mean,
Exactly.
money is a fiction. Well, it's clearly who that was, in history, but someone invented that this coin, this piece of metal represents something. But
Yeah.
the state, for example, is another fiction. So humans are creators of stories to simply come by.
Exactly. So I fully agree with that approach. Yeah. I don't believe that because of we have souls or anything like this, we are better or more capable to rule the world than other creatures. Of course, we rule the world, but for some other reasons. Professor Nafin said that legal personhood should be connected with this legal relationship. So if there is necessary for some utilitarian reason to regulate some kind of relationship, it should be done by the power of law. And we don't need any moral justification for that. And perfect case for that is a case of companies, like legal entities. We know that they are not persons. They are not persons. They are artificial creations, and they don't even physically exist. They exist only on paper and only in law, but we use them as vehicles to do the business, for example. So this is very useful to have possibilities to establish companies, corporations, because they have many purposes. But there is also, in the context of relation, nobody creates a company just to have it. The people create companies to do business. They create some other entities to achieve some business or non-business, non-commercial sometimes goals. So without these relations for which these entities are created, legal personhood is nothing than a smile of Cheshire Cat after the cat disappeared. That's why the Cheshire Cat theory. And in the case of artificial intelligence and very advanced artificial intelligence that may have this mental states or some kind of consciousness, whatever it means, it could be also very good theory to provide some rights to these artificial creatures. And these rights may be very narrow, like company doesn't have the same rights and the same shape of legal personhood as we have as a humans. The same could be with artificial intelligence. And we can also say that artificial intelligence, which has some rights, which could be still could be still the subject of ownership.
Yeah.
You know, as we own companies, as we own legal entities. So it's not like giving full freedom for something that we created, but maybe it's not useful, maybe it's not sensible. I don't know yet. We'll see what will happen in the future. But we can simplify, I think, some kind of rules. We can also let businesses to share responsibility, but of course, the point which I started with was that if the creature, no matter if it consists of flesh or metal or chrome or whatever, but if these creatures have the same qualia, have the same mental states, they should be treated in some cases equally.
Yeah, and this is actually back to Max Tegmark, who said intelligence is independent from substrate, right? And intelligence is simply information processing. And then, of course, we can open an ocean of discussion. Like information processing is happening maybe in plants or in microbes, and we don't provide them same rights as even if we protect, for example, horses or dogs under some legislations. Tremendously interesting how to try to describe the world and relationships in this world with a legal language, and how to design systems that we can coexist, collaborate, and have actually an ethical existence.
Yeah.
The notions of well-being, ethics in Aristotelian sense, life well lived. Yeah. What does it mean?
Yeah, and you know, in other cultures which are closer to the nature, maybe closer to the nature, maybe let's put it like this. There's a little bit different approach. For example, some rivers have their legal personality. Some forests, some animals. It's not necessarily in law, but more in the tradition. But in some cases, like in New Zealand, I think a few years ago it was a quite interesting case that one of the rivers that was very important for the local people achieved its legal personhood. And some shrines in India have also legal personhood because they are treated as a divine. And so you know, I think we are very on the west, let's say we're very anthropocentric, and in some cases it's very good. I don't deny, yeah, I'm a human, but I think we should have a little bit wider sight for all of this.
I think this is a fantastic way to close this episode. And Gabriela, I wish you best of luck. Huge admirer of your work. We'll be observing what you're writing and doing. Maybe we can collaborate on the AI literacy project I'm currently putting together, because what should just people know about AI literacy from the legal perspective? Is it just, and I'm putting this obviously in semicolons, is it just those regulations which are must know? But is it something else? Is it just how AI intrudes in the cybersphere and is clearly a huge issue with the cybersecurity? Or is it something else? And I think it's simply to be admired and applauded if we try to create the world we try to live in and want to live in. What should this world look like? And not simply waiting and then getting surprised.
Exactly, fully agree.
Thank you so much. And that was another episode of AI Snacks with Romy and Robbie. And I will see you next week.
Thank you very much.
And that concluded another episode of AI Snacks with Romy and Robbie, your place for bite-sized inspiration on how AI is shaping our world and our future. And before you go, here's something exciting. This October, we'll be sharing a special AI literacy project at the House of Lords in London, a milestone moment for our mission to make AI knowledge accessible to everyone. We'll be unveiling new insights, stories, and educational tools to empower leaders, educators, and families to navigate the age of intelligent technologies with confidence and creativity. And I'd love to bring your voice into this journey. If you have questions, reflections, or topics you'd like us to explore, send them our way. Your curiosity shapes our content. You can connect with us on aiedutainment.ai or through our LinkedIn community, where we are building an open, curious, and supportive space for AI learners of all backgrounds. And if you haven't yet grabbed your copy of Romy and Robbie and the Secrets of Sleep, our storytelling series that turns AI concepts into relatable adventures, please go on Amazon.com or on the book website www.romyandrobbie. It's a beautiful way to start or deepen your journey into AI literacy, whether for yourself, your team, or your family. And so I will see you next week. Stay curious, stay kind, and keep learning. Together, we are not just talking about AI, we are shaping its story. Thank you.